pleasant Wednesday evening. I'm Chase Miller. Welcome to the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, as presented to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. This week on the program, a couple of firsts in terms of state titles. John Ammerman of the Moorhead Spuds boys hockey team will be joining us, as well as Valley City Highlander girls basketball coach Jimmy Howard as they won their first championships in program history, respectively. Bryan Kenner of the Benson County Wildcats will be joining us, the champs of B girls basketball in North Dakota as well. From there, we'll hear from a couple of EDC coaches as they're gearing up for the state tournament on Thursday. West Fargo Packer boys basketball coach Adam Palczewski will talk about the matchup with Dickinson, and the same on the girls' perspective for Fargo Shanley girls basketball head coach in Beth Maher, talking about the matchup from Bismarck Century. From there, we'll hear from Dustin, Brodina, and Brady Schwab following their semifinal round wins in Region 2, and then we'll also get to our senior spotlight. Then and more is still to come on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Join us here from the Moorhead Spuds perspective, newly inserted hockey champs in the state of Minnesota. That is John Ammerman here. And John, just take us through the emotions from what the weekend was to where we are now, a couple days removed from the state title, and just how's everything kind of been for you as you kind of get back to the normal day-to-day sort of things after the hockey season here?
Well, right now it's been not quite, but trying to catch up on some sleep and yeah, just back to normalcy, like you mentioned, but a really fun week, obviously. I know as a coach and an adult, I was extremely tired throughout. I can't imagine what the kids feel right now, but yeah, just a great week. Obviously, emotional roller coaster and some late nights. We played the evening game for all of them, so you kind of sit around all day and you're not really winding down or even getting back to the hotel until about midnight, and then trying to, prep and get ready for the next game. So it just a very fun experience, but one that is emotionally and just physically draining, and trying to recharge here just to be an okay teacher and dad. But yeah, overall, just an awesome day.
When did it hit you, John? Because I know for some coaches, they say it's surreal. It takes a day, it takes 2 days. And obviously there's the social media videos that are out when you come back to the team, when you come back to the hotel, that everyone is out there, cheering you on. You're coming back to Moorhead and you're being introduced in the gym. You get back into your normal day-to-day walk of life, so to speak, as a teacher. When did it hit you that, what actually happened came to fruition there for the Spuds in your program?
Yeah, I don't know that it really has yet, to be honest, just because it was, yeah, you're stuck in the moment, right? Where I really haven't even gotten a chance to go back and look at much of the game, film or tape. While it's happening, you're so concerned about maybe some adjustments you need to make, or, who's going out next, or what the situation calls for, that you don't really have an opportunity to enjoy the actual gameplay. And that is not a complaint at all. It just, it'll be fun to go back and look once things quiet down here. Obviously, we've gotten to experience a number of things as a group, and I know the kids are really enjoying that. We visited with some alumni and supporters that evening. There was a reception at home last night at a restaurant. There was kind of an autograph session. We're getting invitations to different sporting events to be recognized in town here. So, those types of things make you realize that it's maybe a pretty big deal. But obviously a really fun thing to experience with a small group of kids.
And just to mention a hockey championship, there was a lot of hardware that went to yourself, to the players as well, in just terms of the season awards. Let's start with the Mr. Hockey with Mason Kraft, him and Brian Lee, the two Spuds that have won that with Brian back in 2005. So what does that mean to have another Spud, and particularly Mason's journey to be called Mr. Hockey here in Minnesota?
I think a little bit of a pat on the back for what he's accomplished and done over the past calendar year. He's had an outstanding high school career, but he really capped it off going to work this past summer and off season. And just a credit to him, he had a ton of success as a sophomore and a junior, and some would have been easily complacent, and he wasn't that. He went back, really transformed who he was as a person, as an athlete, and he was rewarded tremendously because of it. Yeah, for him, I'm glad that he was recognized by others throughout the state. We knew how special of a player he was, but he had a historic season, and I'm glad people took notice.
And speaking of taking notice, the Herb Brooks Award goes to Brooks Cullen as well. When someone wins that kind of award, what does that mean for you and the hockey community here in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think a very fitting acknowledgement of his leadership and who he is as a person. This team faced some adversity, especially in the tournament. You go into it with all this excitement, and our start in the quarterfinal wasn't great. We were kind of reeling there, and even in the other two games, there was some adversity. And it just shows how important our leadership was in that our bench never wavered. Our game got stronger as they went along, and Brooks was somebody that definitely had a hand in that. And others took notice of his leadership qualities and rewarded him for it.
To be the 2A coach of the year, John, I know a lot of coaches will say, and I've heard this from a multitude, you have to have good people that you surround yourself with, whether it's from the Pee-wees all the way up to the varsity program that we hear so much when it comes to Minnesota and the Moorhead Spuds there. But what does it mean for you just to be recognized and nominated, and more importantly, kind of, so to speak, the cherry on top, seeing what we talked about Brooks, seeing what we talked about with Mason, and now yourself, you're getting recognized across the state?
Yeah, those types of awards, like you mentioned, they're program awards, they're group awards, and obviously when you have success throughout the season and the momentum that we had going late in the season into the state tournament, people notice that. But like you mentioned, the staff that we had really put things in place for these kids to be successful. Really, my role this year was to guide that and navigate that ship with those individuals, and they nailed their roles. So really, I didn't have to do much. I just kind of sat back and let them do their thing. But I think the biggest thing that I'll take away from it is that it's nominated and voted on by peers, by other coaches throughout the state. It's not media, it's not, fans or alumni. It's people that you compete against, and that means a little something for sure.
The Moorhead Spuds have had a target on their back for so long. I mean, in terms of being a quality program, people know that you're going to bring a good energy to the ice. You're going to have talented kids. But to finally win that state championship, John, is there the dumb question in the room? Is pressure off you, or is now the pressure on you, knowing that you won a state championship, with this program going forward?
Oh, I think it's a great question. I don't know. Pressure is a funny thing, right? That I think a lot of people in the community, the hockey community, think that this is just, a place with a lot of attention and a lot of quote unquote pressure. I guess in my position, I don't feel that. I think that there's a lot of people that are very passionate about our program and they care. Some might call that pressure. I don't see it that way. I think there's a lot of people that have a lot of value in what we do and the values and the different things that we teach kids. At the end of the day, this is a great place to coach. I think that the expectations don't change. Winning a championship is maybe a checkbox or something you can cross off the list, but ultimately, while that may seem to be the goal, a lot of times it's reaching a group's full potential. I think we did that with this group, and other times we've done what you might think is a really good job, and the state championship isn't the thing that you check at the end of the year. So, I think as a coach, you try and crack the code of finding potential in kids, and this year it was a state championship, and our expectations aren't going to waver from that, no doubt. But I think year to year, there's the goal of getting there, and this year we were able to achieve it.
What was the one trait or characteristic about this team, John, whether it was in practices to the early season in November to kind of through the dog days, if you will, in January? It seems like when it's winter sports, when you go to school, it's dark out. When you leave practice, it's dark out, those days. So what allowed this team just to continue to navigate those ups and downs, those valleys throughout the course of the year to eventually be state champs?
Yeah, this is when you're able to reflect on some of those things, right? And obviously, I've been asked a number of questions, a lot of the same ideas, but in different ways. I I think the one thing, well, a couple of things that'll stick out. I don't know that there were dog days this year, to be honest. The group had a tremendous energy. They were very close to one another, and they came to the rink and they had fun, which I think changed that, right? And that's easy to say when you're winning too. Like it's easy to come or be around something when you're having success, but um, there were definitely different days where maybe the energy wasn't there, but they were always smiling, they were always having fun, and they were resilient too. Even when they maybe weren't at their best, they still competed, and they didn't shy away from some of the maybe things that were tough to talk about in terms of energy or attitude or effort. They were accountable to one another and they were resilient and they were a lot of fun to be around.
I think that was going to be my follow up and one of the last questions for you here, John, coming up. It seems like you always hear people say, if you work in a job that you really enjoy, it's not so much work. It's just finding ways to get through the day because every day is a little bit different, right? Some days are easy. Some days you get a lot more put on your plate. Is that the best way to describe this hockey team? Because hearing post game conversations from afar, reading about the team throughout the course of this season, and to your point, it didn't seem like it was a have to. It was the I get to, or we have the opportunity to. Is that fair to say about this year's club?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that, when we look back, I think it's just a group of winners too. Like there is a knack and there was a little bit of a swagger to them as well. And, we hope that at times we're humble, but these guys definitely had a confidence. They didn't lack that. And at every age group, they won. And, funny, the the media or alumni or even us older generation coaches, they our kids throughout the state tournament. There were a couple of them that asked me. They're like, "Why is everybody making it such a big deal that Moorhead has never won?" Uh, One of them said, "That wasn't our group. We weren't born. We weren't a part of that." So they had this kind of different mentality or attitude that it wasn't their burden, that they were a unique bunch. And I do think deep down a lot of them believed that they were going to be the ones to break it.
Final two things for me, John, before I let you go. As a coach, what do you enjoy about the February, March time of the season once you get to the sectionals, once you have an opportunity to get to state? What do you enjoy about this time of the year, seeing your group and your team come together as a team?
Yeah, well, there's that finality of it too, right? Where it's a little bit of a different intensity because, especially your seniors or your leaders know that this is the end, and that is that's a powerful thing. I think that when there's something at stake, it raises that intensity too, and the idea that if you don't continue to progress or get better, that you have a chance to be done. And I think that little fire that burns makes it a lot more fun. Obviously, as a competitor, you want to have something at stake, and every year is fun. This year was obviously a little different feeling at the end, but one that we hope to feel again in the future.
I know looking back, he had six players on the all tournament team, and I always like to ask questions to coaches at the end of the year. There's some players who deserve the marquee, right? They deserve to be, their names are front and center because of what they do, on the ice in terms of goals, assists. Maybe they're a goalie that just has a great save percentage and they're a vacuum and nothing gets by them. But at the end of the day, there's things that the public doesn't see in practice. There's things that the public doesn't see on a bus trip, how people conduct themselves in a school here, John. So who are some of the glue guys? And you can probably name a bunch of them. But who are some of the glue players this year that maybe don't get those awards, whether they're on the second line, third line? Maybe they don't go out as much in terms of their opportunities to play compared to others throughout the course of the season. Who are some glue characters for this year's team that allowed you to get to where you were?
Yeah, and for people that followed along here at the end, it was mentioned a lot about how close this group was, how much they hung out, and that was a credit to a couple of our older guys. Aiden Dufault was an alternate captain, Carver Hasbargen, and then Charlie Stenjum, who had a phenomenal year. But those three in particular really kind of wrapped their arms around all three different grade levels. It's one thing, some teams are very close within their own silos, right? Where the seniors are close or the juniors or, maybe this group that played together or won together was very close. But those three guys really wrapped their arms around everybody and included them. They organized different, get-togethers or watch parties or events. And that definitely, you could see that our sophomores were free. They felt a part of it. And it definitely paid off in the end because some of those younger guys had increased roles throughout the year. They felt a part of it. And our older guys took care of them too, which ended up paying off. So I would say those three for sure. But I do think that people got to know some of the guys, what made them tick, and how important a person like Max Cullen was, a sophomore that played tremendous minutes in the state tournament. Tyden Bergeson played a number of different roles. Zach Devig was somebody that, didn't score a lot of points, but played important minutes. And really fun to see those guys get to burst onto the statewide scene and for people to recognize how good of players they are.
Hey, John, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations. And thanks so much again on the media car wash, as I like to call it after the state tournament.
It's been a lot of fun. And we wouldn't wish it any other way.
Join us here from the Highliner perspective as the state champs now in Division A girls basketball. That is the Valley City Highlanders head coach, Jimmy Howard. And Jimmy, it was good to see you throughout the week and into the weekend in Minot. Now it's kind of getting back to the normal swing of things as a season, no matter when it does comes to a close. And now you kind of get back to the normalcy of what you normally do outside of the season. But first things first, just what's kind of something that has stood out now that you've been a couple of days removed from Saturday night to when we're talking here? And what do you remember most about that run to the state championship in Minot?
You know, resiliency, down against Carrington, figuring out a way to come back. Wasn't a great game for us. Kudos to them. They played great defense. They were scrappy. And we just found a way to get a win in that game. And then you go to the South Prairie Max game, and once again we got ourselves a lead. And we kind of went into a comfort zone where it was like, all right, clock's on our side, like let's work the clock a little bit. And that kind of backfired on us. But once again, being resilient, we throw a play. Katie ends up taking an extra dribbles over the half court line. We turn it over. And the communication and just like no one hung their heads. For a second they were like, and then it was like, all right, next play here. And just being resilient to make the next play. Tipping the sky tips the ball away, and now we're going to the state championship, and then kind of saved our best game of the year possibly for the last game of the year. And once we got the confidence rolling in that championship game, and basically if you were going to take one person away, somebody hit another shot, and we just got it rolling. And rewatching the game just to go over things, it was, at one point in the second half was like, no matter what they did defensively, we just had an answer that night. And it was a little, almost didn't feel real looking up at the scoreboard to realize like, we're up by, 10 and then 15 and then finally that 20-point mark. And, after it was all done, it just was like, did that just happen? And it's been really exciting since then. Community has been rallying around us. And so I just very thankful for it all. You got to have a lot of things go right. We played a lot of good teams. There were very good teams there. And we just happened to find the magic for 3 games and come out on top.
Talk about the championship game, because I know anybody, even from the course of the year when we talked about at the Barnes County basketball tournament at VCSU, right? How are teams going to guard you? Are they guarding the 3-point line? Are they going to try to take away Katie on the interior? Well, the first 2 games of the tournament, you went 6 of 20 from the land of 3, and then all of a sudden, boom, you hit 3 of them in the first quarter. You hit 8 3-pointers in the game. And when you can get those shots from a Suffolk, from a Coca off the bench, from a Maddie Anderson who got things going, how does that just allow the rest of the game to, as you said, Jimmy, anytime Thompson did something, you had the answer because you were hitting those outside shots. You were driving to the lane. You could go one-on-one with Burchell. When you get a Dakota to do what she's able to do, how did that game, just from your perspective, come together for 32 minutes?
You know, confidence. I think we were finally just relaxed. It was a lot of pressure to get there. We had kind of put on ourselves to get to that point. And people outside of the team that had expectations, and we were hearing some of those things. And I think there was just a lot of pressure. And we were kind of relaxed when we got in there. And Sky hits, I believe she hit a three to start the game.
Yep.
And all of us, so now we got them guessing a little bit and like, well, we got to step out on her. And, once you kind of get it going, I mean, our plan was to try to make Hurst and Sage, shoot over length on the perimeter, not just give them the open threes and transition, things like that. And I kind of think once we started making it difficult, we got the confidence on the defensive end, and that just led to the offensive end. And, Maddie, and we weren't stagnant. Like a couple games, we threw it into the post and we just stand and watch Katie. I thought our guards did a good job of moving to some open areas. Coca's three was a in. She relocates to the corner out three. Greta gets that one rebound. She goes baseline. We get a little switch. Kinley's left alone at the top of the key. She hits a three. And those are just big. And it just, once you can get that, now you got to leave Katie probably one-on-one in the post. And she's a problem if you leave her one-on-one, or Sky one-on-one in the post. And, if we can do that, and we had talked earlier, we'd won a game by hitting a ton of threes. We won another game by not making any threes. And we said, it's important when you get to tournament time to be able to win games either way. And we kind of it all came together there in that last game. And like I said, once a couple hit and we were getting defensive stops, that confidence just built. And Maddie, she shoots with confidence, and she hit a couple, and then you knew she was going to be confident every time she had an opportunity to shoot. And it kind of all came together right there.
The two bigs that you kind of alluded to was Sky Nielsen alongside Katie Burchell, part of the All-State tournament team. I will tell you this: I also voted for Greta Govan just because of her defense, just because you put her on the best player on the opposite team. I know she wasn't awarded, but I know you and I have talked about her a ton defensively throughout the course of the postseason here. But let's just talk about the two that did get nominated with Sky and Katie Burchell, and Katie being the tournament MVP, which rightfully so. I mean, if you looked at your team, she was number one probably on everyone's scouting report to try to minimize touches on the interior. Just what did you see from those two in particular throughout 3 games at the Moorhead State Dome?
I thought first game, Sky played with a little bit of nerves on the offensive end. I mean, she had 7 blocks in that first game. She did everything defensively. She just wants to win. And that can go a long ways. Katie, like I said before, like if we're not hitting outside shots, we always know we can go to her. And she's just come up big all year. But, a lot of teams you can guard, you might have a post that can guard one where you have someone that can be physical with one of them, but you don't usually we don't see a lot of teams at least that have 2 that can go on both. And so we have that opportunity. I think in the South Prairie Max game for a little bit, we flip-flopped and put Burchell on the perimeter. I know we did in the Thompson game a little bit. And now your post is out guarding Katie on the perimeter, and now we put Sky inside by herself. And I just thought they played off each other really well the entire tournament. Sky, a little more advanced right now in her ball handling and attacking from the perimeter. Katie's getting more confidence with it. She's very capable of doing it, but just never has been asked to. And so I think they complement each other because Sky is able to play on the perimeter and Katie in the post. And I know Katie finally shot a 3 in that last game. Also, she's very capable of shooting out there, but just hasn't. So she's not super comfortable out there shooting it yet. But that's kind of the next step in her game. But the two of them pounded the boards when we needed them most. They're physical in there. I believe at one point, one of the announcers called them like a bully down there. And I told the girl this, that's like in a good way. But they set a physical tone inside. They're strong. We don't, we've talked about not worrying about being fouled and trying to draw fouls and flail. Like we're just going to try to go through contact and score. And I thought the girls just did a really good job with that. And Katie's just steady. I mean, average 20 and 10 on the year. But we've always said we don't need just one kid to be dominant. And so each game, like Katie was steady every game, but Coda had 15 in the second game. Sky had 16 in the third. Maddie had 12 in that third one. And it just kind of, they play off of her really well.
Last thing about some of the players here, we could talk about any of them, but let's talk about the seniors, Greta Govan, Bailey LaRue. I know we always talk with coaches about glue players, about girls who maybe are the unsung heroes, whether it's on the bus, in the locker room, practices, stuff that the common fan maybe doesn't see for 32 minutes on a basketball game. So what did those two seniors, what did they kind of leave outside the obvious, winning a region title, winning a state championship? I know when Bailey got in there in the fourth quarter, the entire fan base, erupted to see her get into the contest here, Jimmy. And then Greta, as we've talked about multiple times, like a broken record, you don't have to score to impact the game, not because she's not looking for a shot. It's just what you ask her to do with rebounding, with defense, with hustle play. So how about those two and what they mean to the club?
Bailey, phenomenal. I mean, she has improved so much over the last year. Told her I wish she'd have come out as a freshman. Um, she gave Katie and Sky all they could handle in practices. She was that physical person on the other side that we had to work on getting through, and I think that helped with some of the physicality in games. She's just an energizer on the bench, positive. She was voted captain by her teammates because of that positivity, easy to approach. And some people say, well, she didn't play a lot. Like you're not really having to replace her, but we're having to replace what she did for us in practice, her energy on the bench, her positivity with the other kids, and just always, giving them encouragement. And that's a big piece. When you want to be successful, you got to have players and people on your bench that are those types of kids. And then Greta, I don't know what to say. She's done so much for us. She's been through the ringer, in the EDC. She's been on teams that weren't very like as far as win losses, just weren't very good as far as that goes. We were tough, but we just didn't get a lot of W's. And for her to be able to kind of go out on top, I thought was really awesome. Her last three major matchups. I know Katie Coca and her kind of shared Crockett in the playoff or in the region game, but she averaged 30 some points a game. They were able to hold her to 11. She guarded Beck for South Prairie Max pretty much the entire game. I think we held her to 8. And then she was guarding Hurst the whole championship game, pretty much held her to 11. Both of those players scoring about 20 points a game. I mean, that's going to be hard to replace her length, what she did. And I've had some people like, why didn't she look to shoot more in the state tournament? And like, that's not what she does. I mean, she can get out on the break, she'll get some layups, but by her, not needing shots, it gets our other kids more shots, it gets them in rhythm. And she just does the little things, and we're going to have to find somebody that's willing to kind of step up and accept a role like similar to that to kind of keep our team together.
Final thing for me, Jimmy, and I know it's still in flux just in terms of April with the committee and teams moving up and down, in both A and B respectively to see if you go to B to A to double A, success factor points. There's a little bit of a gray area that you and I have talked about with the committee. Then you can make the reasoning why you should stay down or go up. So just your biggest thoughts, no matter what's going to happen, whether you're in A, whether you're in double A next year, just what do you hope to see in the off season for this group? Because quite frankly, whether you're in A or in double A, there will be expectations on this club yet again, whether it's from Valley City, whether it's from the state of North Dakota, that's going to say, hey, you're a state champ, you should compete well in the EDC, or hey, you're a state champ, you have a chance to make it back to state. But you and I know every season brings its own journey of sickness and knock on wood injuries and how the team comes together. So what's the biggest thing from now till you get to practice in November for this club is going to be what?
Well, starting here in the spring, I'm just going to leave them alone. Like, go be in your other sports, go do your other activities, be a kid, forget about, some of the basketball stuff. I think that's super important for them to, move on to their next activity and not have to worry about like open gyms or things like that. Like, just go take a break. And then come the summer, just trying to build on what we did, better shooter. Let's get better at shooting from the perimeter, get more consistent. And the biggest thing heading into November is an understanding of like, we're going to be a different team. I know we only graduate 2 and everybody's coming back, but we'll be different. We're going to have kids a year older, and do you get some kids that feel like, they sat last year, now is their turn, and we've got some talented kids in front of some other talented kids. And so can we get an understanding of, that's just kind of the situation we're in. And then can we find that drive again to do something? This year it was do something that hasn't been done. There's been conference championships won. We just really wanted a region championship. We wanted to do something, but the biggest one was state. And we said, why not us? Everybody, we weren't picked high, I think, by Hoopster or any of the other people that are doing rankings. We were not picked high, and we're like, well, why not us? We were in the state tournament last year. Why can't we do it? And so we just had that mentality of, we want to get there. We want to do something that's been unprecedented in Valley City for girls basketball, and to be the first. And so can we find the drive to, potentially do something once again that hasn't been done by getting ourselves back to the championship game and potential chance to repeat. But there's a lot that's got to go right for you. Like you said, injuries, all of that stuff, and how the team comes together. So just finding a drive again in the summer to continue to improve and not just rest on the fact that, we made it. And you can use some teams from it past, for example. I mean, Devils Lake brought a lot back, and they didn't make it, not saying they didn't do anything to get there, but other teams improved and things like that. So can we understand other teams are going to improve, and we're going to have the target on our back, and that's going to be different for us. We have never had that. So I think that'll also help drive us.
Hey, Jimmy, as always, thanks for your time throughout the season. Thanks for your time today, and best of luck as you enjoy back to normal, so to speak, teacher school life here after a crazy but fun February and March for you.
Thank you very much.
Treat yourself to a great career at American Crystal Sugar Company. Team up with quality people making quality products. Full-time and year-round in a stable business. With great pay and benefits, including time off available from day one. American Crystal Sugar Company invests in you to promote your continued growth and career advancement. Grow your career, doing your best work within the world's best beet sugar company. Apply online today at AmericanCrystalCareers.com.
Grow your hard-earned money at Red River State Bank. We have deposit accounts for checking, savings, business, and money markets. We also have longer-term accounts like certificates of deposit and individual retirement accounts. Now with 2 locations in Halstead and Fertile, Red River State Bank is ready to help you grow your dreams with deposit accounts for you and your business. Stop in or visit us online at redriverbank.com. Red River State Bank. Growing together. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Don't be fooled by that beat-up old cap. Its faded crown represents the tireless work of America's farmers and ranchers. Its sturdy brim, their dedication to providing our nation with a safe, affordable food source. So we'd like to tip our hat to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
Visit with Ryan Opdahl, your local Farmers Union Insurance agent in Hillsborough.
Join us from the Benson County Wildcats, newly minted state girls basketball champs. That again is Bryan Kenner with us here on the Coaches Show. Bryan, I guess let's just start there. How does that sound? How has it sunk in from Saturday night in Jamestown, winning that state championship? What's the last couple of days? Everything been, surrounding in the community and for this group of girls and for your team as well?
It's pretty wild. I'm still a little bit numb to it. It's starting to feel a little more real all the time. I'm pretty tired. It's a grind between the back-to-back prep that you put in and kind of the adrenaline rush and all that, like a little bit exhausting, but trying to get back to reality and get some work done here. But yeah, it's been amazing. The community, I can't believe the crowds that we had there. I can't believe the welcome home celebration we had. I mean, it's such a it means so much to the community when you're a small town and you're not there every year. Like that's the thing that, like, people just keep wanting to talk about it, and people that aren't really even necessarily what you call basketball fans, like they really get to feel part of this, and really special. Kids are like mini celebrities around town. So, it's been a really, really neat experience.
It was a quick turnaround. I remember talking with you at Mayville State after the game got done against Maple River, and you're like, all right, I got to get going. We got the coach's vote and, everything else to make sure you get everything in and properly and see where you're going to get seated. So just take us through what that transition was Saturday into Thursday, that week of prep, getting ready for Lemoore, Litchfield, Mary, and then just kind of seeing what the cards were going to lay out after that. But just take us through what that 3-4 days was before you kind of got to the Buffalo City from Mayville to Jamestown here, Bryan.
Yeah, really crazy. When you haven't done it before, nobody really preps you for that. But I mean, I'm literally on the bus, and I'm, doing the seating, because we were the last team to play. So you're doing the seating to get that done. You find out where you're seated, and then, get the team fed, and then gave them Sunday off. I was kind of prepping for Lemoore, and you got to look a little bit ahead at who you're going to play, just in case there's something unique, because you don't have a chance to come back to practice. And then, we practiced Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I think we talked about this a little bit too, and maybe I'm getting a little off topic, but we practiced pretty hard, because we knew that our style of play, we have to be conditioned. And I told the girls we're going to try to practice, get up and down a little bit, and know that we got to play 3 games in 3 days, and we can't go easy and then be tired going in there.
Taking a look at this, what did you see for 3 days in Jamestown that allowed this team to come away with a state title?
We played pretty loose and confident. I kind of felt like if we won that first game against Lemoore, and I mean, they're a fantastic team, I felt like if we won that we were going to have some confidence to play the next 2 days and give ourselves a shot. We just had to have shots fall, and they did. But I mean, the turnaround time is pretty wild. I mean, playing that 8:00 game and then coming back at 2:30 or 2:45 the next day, it's really crazy coming back there.
Taking a look at some of the players from your perspective team, obviously that was able to make the all-tournament team, just in terms of some of their accolades for the 3 days that they were in Jamestown, with Aubrey Kenner and alongside with Caitlin Maddock, and Aubrey getting the tournament MVP as well. Just take us through what those two kind of meant, because obviously that they got nominated by the media with their selections. I'm sure, like any coach, there could be 1 or 2 other players for what they do on the team that they could get nominated as well. But how about those two and their recognition and being MVP as well for Aubrey?
Yeah, I mean, we're a great team, and like, it's more than, even the 6 that get most of the minutes. I mean, I think our whole team, I'm proud of the prep they put in, and the way our kids on our JV and on the bench accepted their roles. But, Maddock and Kenner have been our leaders for a while. When Aubrey was an 8th grader, she started a little bit, and then we graduated all 5 girls that played ahead of her. So when she was a freshman, she was the only, we started 5 girls, and she was the only one that had ever started a game before. So I had 4 girls starting, and like 3 of them had never played a varsity minute, and they went to starting. And we took our lumps. Maddock was a point guard as an 8th grader. Aubrey kind of got a ton of pressure as a freshman. And I'm going back a ways with my timing on this, but I think it kind of builds into how we played in the state tournament, honestly, because they're young, but they're really experienced, and they took some real beatings that first year, to be honest. I remember playing in Carrington one game, and we scored 11 points, after a snowstorm and not practicing. And I mean, we just got our butts handed to us, and they were really resilient, and they fought through it, turned into be pretty good ball players. And then when you have that kind of pressure, and you've played for, 3 seasons as kind of varsity leaders, for those 2 to step up didn't really surprise me that much. Kenner's seen a lot of, she's kind of probably the most known player on our team. We don't get a ton of media coverage. She gets a lot of pressure and sees everybody's best defender most nights, and she's tough to stop. But I kind of talked about in this tournament where you play teams that don't know you, I thought she was going to get a lot of pressure. And I told Maddock, I said, you're going to get some really good looks, and I think you just got to be confident and knock them down. She's a really, really good shooter when she's got time to shoot it. And, she got some really open looks in our transition, and hit some huge shots. I mean, Aubrey kind of does what she does all the time, to be honest, but Maddock, maybe people really didn't expect that, but 100% I did. And I remember, Aubrey telling me too, I was telling her, I'm like, I think Katie's going to be open. And she's like, I can't believe anybody would leave her open. And I'm like, well, if she is, she's going to knock it down. We knew it. So.
Going back through the weekend, I kind of went back to the state qualifiers, and that was the question: how are the state qualifiers going to be received across the state of North Dakota? From the first year, obviously, I think it was a lot of good feedback, but just from this year, from the teams that made the championship, you and Kenmare Bowbells both played in a state qualifier that allowed you to get to a state championship game, and even in A, the Thompson Tommies played in a state qualifier. So there was just one region champ out of 8 region champs that played in a state title. So dumb question here, Bryan: how valuable was a state qualifier here for you and your team, and going through it the second year to have that, so to speak, that old challenge game that used to be there, but now a state qualifier that allowed you to eventually become the state champion?
It's such a neat process when they added that, because now that third place game matters, and it changes the way you prep for a region tournament a little bit too, because that you can lose that championship game and you're still alive. Not that you want to, right? Like we ran into a really good Langdon team, and I think people realized when they got 5th in state, like how good they were, even without arguably their best player and Avery Lorenz. So losing that game was really, really tough on us. We played super tight, but rallied back, and I kind of told the girls on Saturday, I'm like, we're going to play a really good Maple River team. If we come out hard, I think we win, and we win that one, it's going to kind of give us the momentum to run into state. And I know Justin Klein, the Devils Lake coach, a little bit. We play them a lot in the summer, and he sent me a text message after we lost that Thursday night game and said, hey, just remember, we played in that game last year and won a championship. And it kind of gave me a little bit of perspective, right? Like just a little quick text message like that, kind of gets you thinking. I'm like, oh yeah, we can do this, right? So
going into this particular community, when you came back, you mentioned the community support from Leeds, from Maddock, from the surrounding communities. Just what was that like throughout the weekend? You mentioned how many fans were down there as Wildcats, but also what have you seen since the team has arrived back home?
It's unbelievable. I can't really describe. Our crowd was so amazing at those games, like especially that Friday night semifinal when we had the comeback. It was completely deafening on the bench. I felt like I was at a Division I college game. I mean, it was just unbelievable, and that momentum or that energy transferred to the girls, and like they found a gear they didn't have the first half, and so I thought our crowd actually played a really big part. And then coming home, we had this huge celebration with fire trucks, and they met us at the school and a chair set up, and it's like when you're not here all the time and you're a small community, like this is everybody gets to like share in the enjoyment and the celebration. And I can't tell you how amazing it has been, and how amazing our community is, and the support we've had. Like it's just kind of unbelievable. Like that's maybe the kind of behind the scenes story that people don't talk about enough.
Last thing for me, Bryan, before I let you go, because I know a lot of people probably want to talk about next season already. You just want a title, but look at the roster and say, wow, you guys should be just as good next year. But that's a whole nother season away, so we'll talk about that next season. I guess my question to you on the final thing is this: what are you going to most remember about this particular Wildcat team that allowed you to go through those ups and downs that there is in any part of a journey, any part of a season, with injury, sickness, however it might be? But what are you going to remember most about this year's club that allowed these two communities to come together, find a way to win a state championship?
Just how special this group is, and how when they bought in and had confidence that they were able to do something that I don't think people really thought they could do, right? I mean, I knew we were going to be a good team. And I knew we had a shot to do this, like honestly, like halfway through the season, but like by no means would I have ever said we were a favorite. But the fact that they bought into our style of play 100%, that they were completely unselfish, and all they wanted to do was win. And when we got to a state tournament, it put us in a position to do that, right? Like the fact that our style of play, the confidence in each other, maybe not being there before gave us played a little looser, I thought, than some other teams, which was an advantage. And I told somebody else, I said, it's really, really hard to get here. Like even bringing everybody back, I mean, it'll be amazing if we happen to go to state again and miraculously could win another state championship. Would be crazy, but it'll never be better than this one. When you get there for the first time going to state, first time winning a championship, like even if we were ever blessed to have this happen again at some point down the road, it'll never be better than this one. It's just a weird feeling.
Hey, Bryan, kudos on congratulations, and congrats again on a great season. Thanks so much for your time. Enjoy the off season as much as you can, and look forward to talking with hoops with you coming up next season.
Yeah, anytime. I appreciate the coverage. Thank you.
Join us here, Adam Palczewski, head coach for the West Fargo Packer boys basketball team, as they're making their way to the Shack/the Fargo Dome, the north side, this weekend for the state tournament. Joining us here again is AP and Adam. Before we talk about state, before we talk about Dickinson, two venues for a state tournament where you guys will be and wanting to be at potentially later on the weekend. Let's just recap the EDC. What'd you see from your team in the quarters, semis, and the championship that allowed you to come away with the number one seed as you get to the state tournament?
We play with a lot of resilience and a lot of toughness. That first game, Fargo North pushed us to our limit. We didn't play well. They played really hard and caused us to not play well partially. But we did not play up to our level of expectation. And we survived that by making just enough plays and free throws down the end and not quitting. And then, we had to play really great basketball for 36 minutes. We couldn't have any let-ups against Davies because of Mason Claybo and some of his supporting cast. And then the guts game, just every time you play a third game in a tournament, it's just about guts. And Red River played their butt off. They played hard. And then we, again, made just enough extra plays to win it. So a lot of toughness, a lot of resilience from the boys.
I know we'll talk more about the state tournament, but what does one more question on the EDC? What does it mean winning an EDC conference championship title? Because I know Davies has won 3 straight. They've been there 6 years. But from your perspective, Adam, and from your program, what does it mean to win a tournament championship here in the conference?
It's pretty special. Championships don't come around very often. I mean, not everyone. One team wins it every year. That's it. And some teams haven't won it for decades. It's a long time. So you have to celebrate every single one you get because it's special. And when kids, young men basically come together to make sacrifices and achieve something like that, then you got to celebrate it.
Going through some of the players here that were on the all EDC team with Beckett Fow and Bonfils Loria, just with those two in particularly, what have they meant to the program, and what does it mean for them to be on that all EDC team?
Both are captains for us. And that's where it starts. Their leadership is fantastic. One thing about Bonfils and Beckett is they easily move on from a negative play onto the next play. There's play, I think Bonfils gave up an offensive rebound for a layup, and he was upset, and then he just went back down and made the next play on offense, passed the ball, moved it. He's not concerned about his stats. He wants to win. And one thing about Bonfils is he probably cares more about everybody else than any other player I've ever had. He really does. So if he makes a mistake, he feels like he's letting down a lot of people. And he's not, because he's a tremendous human being and basketball player. But just someone that has that kind of conscientiousness is extremely rare, and I'm really lucky to coach him. And then Beckett is a very similar player in that when he makes a mistake, he moves on to the next play. He goes and plays defense, and he makes a good decision with the basketball. He's been our point guard for the second half of the year and also a captain. And he's really taking good care of the ball. And when we cut down our turnovers, we're really good. So him making those decisions has helped a lot. And I think that's why, the coaches voted him as a all-conference selection.
I know someone, too, who had himself a good weekend, particularly against Fargo Davies, hitting some free throws, scoring some points, was Aiden Samick as well. Just in that one game alone, when you look at the box score and see the free throws that you were able to hit as a team, but him specifically, just what have you seen from his play, particularly on the north side of Fargo for those 2 games during the EDC tournament?
Yeah, he's a competitor. He's a consummate competitor. So when it comes time to make big plays, he's going to go make them, which I'm really proud of him for. And people ask me, why does he come off the bench? And there's a matchup issue if you bring someone that has a lot of scoring power off the bench. College teams do it all the time. Pro teams do it all the time. It creates a matchup issue. And then again, I talked earlier in the interview about sacrifices. Are you willing to make some sacrifices? He's willing. Not everyone's willing. He's willing to make a sacrifice to win. It hasn't affected his minutes one bit. He just doesn't start. He finishes games, but his matchup defensively, the guy guarding him has a tougher matchup, and he has an easier matchup offensively. So it makes a lot of sense if you're really thinking big picture.
Going into the state tournament here, you are the number 1 seed, winning the EDC tournament. You get the first game right at noon coming up on Thursday from the Shield Center. As we alluded to, when it's in Fargo, you're going to play in one venue, the Dome, or one venue, the Shield Center. This year, the boys at the Shield Center. Eventually, you want to make your way to the Fargo Dome, as that's where the placing matches and the championship will be. But just your thoughts here, Adam, on a team that, we able to see the last couple of years, some of the East-West crossover a little bit with the Dickinsons and the Bismarcks and the Minets coming over and playing the Red Rivers, the Souths and the West Fargos of the world. But just your early matchup here with Dickinson, and do they remind you of anybody that you've seen this season?
Not necessarily this season, but they kind of remind us of us a few years back with a lot of their full court pressing. They'll do whatever it takes to disrupt. They want to speed up the game and get more possessions. So I know what they're doing there, and they do a pretty good job of it. They have some big wins this year. Obviously more wins than we have. And that's one thing I want to remind us to, let our guys remind, you're EDC champs, but you're 12-12. And you know what? You got to do it the next day too, because what you did last weekend doesn't matter right now. Well, you just got to compete on Thursday. So, but they do a lot of things defensively. They'll throw a lot at you. Offensively, they have, 4 guys that if they get loose, they can eat, any one of them can kill you. So we got to make sure we just play good defense, stay in front of our guys without fouling. And then, just let the kids play.
As you get to this time of the year, Adam, I always like to ask coaches because, November is one thing, December is another, January and so forth. But what does March basketball mean to you and a coaching staff when you're able to, have success, on the court? I know we talk about off the court stuff, and rightfully so. You want really good players to be the next generation of a husband or a good worker or a coworker, a good friend, all that stuff. But when it comes just to the game of basketball at this time of the year, what do you enjoy most as a coach?
Just the sheer competitiveness of the kids and seeing who steps to the plate on both ends of the floor, who's going to go make a play, who's going to take their shot because they're open, and the team needs them to shoot. I mean, you can't get a shot clock violation every possession. Like, someone has to go get a bucket. So just seeing the kids compete there. And then on the defensive end, same type of thing. Kids diving on the floor for 50-50 balls. That's one thing that helped us win last Saturday is I think we were the first to the floor on every 50-50 ball. I mean, if we didn't get 100%, I'd be surprised. It was over 90. So being that team really makes you proud as a coach. And then that's what, if you're not that team at any particular moment, you're pulling your hair out, trying to scream at them to be that team. So those are the things that are great. The competitiveness, to realize you're in a 1-game season, even though there's consolation and stuff. You're in a 1-game season if you're any type of competitor at all, because you want to win the whole thing. But you got to do it 1 game at a time. And just that competitiveness is what I like.
Not that something switched, but I'm sure you've been asked this question after the weekend. Like, you guys were 9-12 coming into the EDC tournament. You win 3 straight, as you alluded to get to 12-12 here, AP. So I'm sure someone said, Adam, what switched? What was the light bulb moment, or what just was working for those 3 games? And I know you and I have talked, and you had to go through some injuries. You had to make some lineups changes throughout the course of the year. But just what did come together, so to speak, for that weekend here at the EDC tournament that you hope to carry over to state?
Well, yes, we did get everyone healthy, which was huge for us. Getting a healthy team makes us a lot better team because we can put our best players on the floor. And then every kid has done something to make their game more simple. With Bonfas, it's just catching the ball and just finishing to the rim. With Aiden, it's just being ready to catch and shoot. His release has gotten quicker over the last month, which makes him even tougher to guard. With Beckett and Sam, they're going to the basket and just finishing really simply with their shot. So at this time of the year, you want everyone to obviously be their best, but a lot of times the best is just be simple and just make the easy play. And we've done a great job of making the easy plays and the simple plays the last 3 weeks of the season.
Final thing for me, Adam, before I let you go, what does it mean for this year's team? Every team brings its own unique identity. Every team has its own unique mold from the course this season. But what does it mean for this year's group of Packers to make the state tournament?
I think it's validation is the biggest thing. We had some big expectations going into the year, and then December and January were just not our months. And they just kept working, doing the same things, and just trying to figure out, you got to figure out why you're doing these things. Sometimes the kids don't know. But eventually, if you just keep doing them, it pays off. So I think for the kids, knowing that from the start of the year, they were a good team and not seeing the results, and just to keep working and to be consistent, I think they get some validation and realize that, yep, we are a good team. We can beat anybody. And we always, I won't say always because nothing is guaranteed, but because of what they believe in and what they allow me to do as their coach, we are going to be pretty competitive every March.
Hey, Adam, as always, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck here at noon on Thursday against Dickinson in the quarterfinals of the state tournament.
Thanks, Chase.
That again, head coach of the Packers, Adam Palczewski, West Fargo Dickinson, get on out to the Shields Center on Thursday afternoon at noon for the first game of the boys' quarterfinals.
Growers, prepare your fields and yields against the wet conditions for 2025 and beyond with a drain tile project from Chad's Excavating out of Mayville. Drain tiling will improve and increase your yields and land values for years to come. Chad's Excavating provides free, detailed estimates, and with over 40 years of combined success, they provide professional installation and service. Call Chad today to prepare for your future and any questions that you might have. That's Chad's Excavating out of Mayville, helping farmers grow.
There's more at 104. Hillsboro, North Dakota has everything you need on your next road trip. Food, fuel, fun, and family-friendly activities. Stop by and fill up your tank or grab a bite to eat. Have a blast at Goose River Golf Club, the swimming pool, or one of our beautiful parks. There's even ice skating and cross-country skiing. Take in the sights or stay the night so you don't miss a thing. Experience Hillsboro and see why there's more at 104.
Welcome to the Your Live Event Coaches Show. I'm Josh Boyko, joined by Beth Maher of the Fargo Shanley Deacons girls basketball program that has punched their team into the state tournament. And Coach, how are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great. I'm very excited.
Absolutely. And I'd be excited too if my team just punched their way into state here. So talk about the journey of where you were at the start of the year, then to now where you are making it to state.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been saying from the start of the season that it's not how we play at the beginning, it's how we play in March. And I just had a strong belief that once we got to March, that things were going to be rolling for us. And the girls have put the hard work in. We had a tough schedule to start with, starting off with Legacy, Mandan, St. Mary's, De La Salle. Really let us know early on the things that we needed to work on quickly to get to where we're at in March.
Yeah, and you mentioned that tough schedule to start. I believe it was 2-5 around that Christmas break area. You guys were sitting at record-wise, but you guys are playing good basketball now, and that's what's propelled you into March, the most important time of the year.
Yes, that's for sure. I kept reminding the girls that we do not have an easy schedule and that we are a really good team. We're a young team, essentially kind of a new team too, with lots of different ages and girls getting moved up and so forth, different dynamics than last year. So lots of different things came into play as we were progressing through the season.
Yeah, and you mentioned some younger contributors on this roster. Just talk about the development that you've seen from some different players over this year as they've gotten either pulled up to varsity or just are underclassmen contributors.
Yeah. So Riley Sievert, she's obviously our girl in the paint, but she can dribble, shoot, drive, as only a freshman. So she's being heavily recruited, but quite a big role for a 15-year-old girl. That's a freshman in high school. She had a role last year that was important, but it was going to be important that she recognized that she was going to have to step up and be a leader this year. And we've been really working through that leadership role, and she's embraced it really well, showing lots of consistency in our games, which has been wonderful. And then having, 8th graders and 9th graders on the roster as well, that were JV contributors last year, getting some of their first varsity minutes this year, took some adjustment as well to figure out what the best lineup would be for us. And then, last but not least is our 7th grade point guard. I was strict about making sure that she showed everyone what she could do on JV, and she started the first half of the season playing those JV minutes. And after dominating those first halves of JV, I think she maybe had 25 points against Mandan the first half. She definitely proved to the coaching staff, players, and community that she was ready to take on that varsity role.
What kind of luxury is it to have that pipeline coming up of junior high players and freshmen that you're going to have on your squad for a few more years to come, but they've already developed like way beyond where the average player of that age is?
It's exciting. It's complicated. I wish as a head coach, I only needed to focus on the X's and the O's. But having middle schoolers and 18-year-olds on the same team, making sure that our team chemistry is there and team dynamics are rolling, has been, a very thoughtful process as well. So again, I don't want to take away the excitement from it. Definitely have work to do, and these girls can't be satisfied where they're at. They need to continue to want to work and develop. But the future definitely looks bright if the girls put the work in.
Absolutely. And then talk about some of the adjustments and improvements that you saw throughout the year after what was a very tough schedule to start, started to build some wins through the middle and end of the regular season. Talk about that progress and some of the adjustments that you saw made on the court.
Yeah, so last year, my 6'1" post players this year, Riley Sievert and Megan Dietz, essentially were 2-3 guards last year. With our seniors, we had a very tall senior class last year. And with that senior class exiting, we're still a tall team, but Riley and Megan really were our next girls up for playing that 4-5 position. And I moved them to our 4 and 5 position on the court, which are essentially new roles for them. So being young players and not playing those positions, starting off the season, not only with a essentially new team, but playing new positions as well, took some time for growth as well.
Yeah, it has to take a lot of trust in some of those players to be able to move them from the guard spot to the forward center type spot. So what did you see in those players that you were able to be like, yes, I think they can make this transition?
Well, the exciting part is they can dribble the ball like a guard. But I played, I'm a 6-foot guard from college, but in high school, I played post. So I started off with post moves, drop steps, power dribbles, then worked my way to the guard position. We're kind of going backwards where these girls know how to play the guard position. We have spent a lot of time on the blocks at practice, working on post up moves, drop steps, power dribbles, left hand baby hooks. And so that's what I think we're finally starting to see the growth is that work that we've been putting in on the blocks.
And then maybe for people that have not been able to watch this Shanley girls team this year, what are the characteristics that this team is built on? What do they do best?
We run the floor very well. I think with our post players, again, starting off as guards, they can run very well. They are all around good shooters. They can shoot the 3, they can shoot that mid-range shot, they can drive to the hole. We have 3-point shooters, and we have some role players that come off the bench with extreme energy. Odura Isaac is a lot of fun to watch. She's our first man off the bench, and she just comes in when everybody's tired and gives us a lot of fire, gets the team fired up, and that girl's an Energizer bunny, which we love about her.
Absolutely. And let's just go through the East Region tournament process and journey that you guys had to go through the state qualifier to get to state, but West Fargo, Cheyenne, then Horace, and then North, those 3 opponents that you saw in the East Region tournament. So kind of walk me through those performances from your team.
Sure. So we started off with Cheyenne. They hosted. We had 2 very close conference games with them, losing by, I can't remember, 6 at home and 5 at Cheyenne, knowing well that we can compete with them, but with having a younger group. I think the second time we played them, we lost a 16-point lead. They came out with fire in the second half, and we were playing a little too content. So going into that EDC game, we had some revenge in us that we were ready to go. And the girls certainly showed up. Their defense was excellent. We really practiced what to do in situations where we're up, those situations on what you're supposed to do, slow the game down, get the ball into our point guard's hands, etc. Having young players, they don't have a whole lot of experience at the high school level with what that looks like. So after we were able to blow past Cheyenne, which was exciting, we knew that we were going to have our hands full with Horace. Again, familiar with them. We lost to them only by 5 at home. We were actually up by 10 with 4 minutes to go. Lake and Donnelly decided to take the game into her own hands, and we held her to 3 points the first half. But she's a tremendous player, and we were not able to contain her at the end. Again, another example of us panicking, rushing the game, not getting the ball into our point guard's hand. So more practice of those game time situations that we've been working on. Unfortunately, playing Horace at home, lights out, awesome crowd. They've got great support from their community. They've got 3 Division I athletes. Proved to be a tough game for us. And then going into EDC, we knew we can compete with them. And I think all around, looking at the teams in the EDC, we match up the best with them. They just have, senior Gonzaga post player. We had a hard time with her. But to be honest, our girls hadn't played on a court like that. They hadn't been in an environment like that. So showing up to NDSU, me too, like I'd never coached on that, having those bright lights. We were kind of deer in the headlights. So we were ready to go against North after we'd seen that big stage, and it was a fun way to end EDC with sealing the win.
Absolutely. And the schedule doesn't get any easier moving forward here, but talk about the upcoming matchup. I believe it's Bismarck Century that you guys have drawn on Thursday here, coming up at the Fargo Dome.
Yeah. The goal for us this year was always get to state, and we're just thrilled that we were able to get this young crew there. So we're going to have this experience under our belt. And it was, a nice surprise for us that we were going to be matching up with Century. Definitely see that we have our work cut out for us. They are very good inside the lane. Looks like they finish around the rim really well, but also have some tough 3-point shooters as well. So I'm confident that we have girls that can match up to them. But we definitely have to show up and play our top game to compete with them.
And then lastly,
and I'm confident we will.
Yeah, absolutely. And what makes you confident that that the team is going to show up in the brightest lights with the most pressure? What makes this team dangerous once it gets to the state time on Thursday?
Well, I think what makes us dangerous is we've got players that can hit 3-pointers. We've got players that can work on the block. We've got girls that can come off the bench and hit the 3. I think that our post players move really well on the block. So, if we get our hands up, it's really hard to make passes around us as well.
Absolutely. Well, we are really looking forward to seeing that matchup go down on Thursday. So best of luck, and thank you so much for taking some time to let us know about the Fargo Shanley Deacons.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the interview.
Absolutely. That's Beth Maher joining us on the Your Live Event Coaches Show.
Dustin, congratulations on the win. You return to the Region 2 championship game, a very hard-fought game. What do you think spurred you to the victory?
Yeah, that was a very hard-fought game. Grafton played really, really hard, which we knew they were going to play hard. They're going to give a great effort. And we were just able to knock some shots down in the second half. First half, we had I don't know if it's the basket out in the middle of nowhere syndrome or what, but I'm proud of my guys. They worked hard second half and came away with a win.
The Palmer kids, outstanding shooting, and Oliver Worth as well.
Yeah, those guys stepped up big time. Any night, any one guy can step up. That's part of our team mentality. When one guy's out, another guy steps up. So I was proud of those guys.
So do you sit back now and just kind of watch and as a fan, or how do you take the next game?
Oh, no, we're going to be watching the next game. We're scouting all the time because we got the winner of this game, and it's going to be a big game on Thursday. You don't want to be playing in that game Saturday, so this game's important. The game on Thursday is very important.
All right, Dustin, Brodina, thanks very much, and we'll see you here on Thursday.
Thank you.
Brady, congrats on the win. You said it here off the air. Wasn't pretty, but it's a tournament victory and a hard-fought game by both squads.
Yeah, that's a defensive game, right? Like getting a shot off, I felt was really difficult. Everything came from the inside for us. I don't know if we hit an outside. Maybe Oster hit one outside shot. They hit a couple outside shots, but, two teams that I felt defended very well. And you had to earn your blockouts and you had to earn your boards tonight. And fortunately, we hung on at the end there and we made free throws at the end. Not so many at the beginning, but to get out of there against a real good team that's well coached, we'll take it.
At any time that Four Wind's been a walk-in wanted to kind of run their pace, you guys answered. That was a really good effort.
It was. Third quarter, we got a little bit stagnant on offense, and they ran and hit a couple shots, and then we came down and started moving a little bit. We were standing a little bit, going to the post and watching instead of trying to create things. Noah Hippen, I thought, gave us an outstanding spark off the bench, had a ton of rebounds, played with 4 fouls for the better part of the second half, and had 2 or 3 real big baskets when we needed them. So, I think there's a lot of individual efforts. Krogstad and Peterson obviously, did some things that were real good. But Tommy Schumacher's effort on McKay, I thought, was very good as well. He beat us when we played him about a week ago. He got into the paint. He created a lot of havoc, and I thought Tommy played a great game. We had good minutes from Taylor and Oster off the bench. So, all in all, Odenbach gave us a spark too. When Peterson was struggling a little bit, Odenbach stayed in there, got a couple big boards for us. So we'll take it. 48 points isn't a lot, but it's a win, and it's one more than them, I guess.
And you're going to find your way into the championship for the region, which means you got an opportunity here, and you got Devil's Lake waiting for you here on Thursday night.
Yeah, I thought Grafton gave them everything they wanted tonight, and Grafton obviously shoots it very well from the outside. Devil's Lake's a tough matchup for everybody. They're so athletic and long, and they got guards that can fill it. But, we're going to get back, dissect this thing a little bit, and then we'll try to get ready for the Firebirds.
You get a day. Good luck, Coach. Congrats on the victory.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Parenting is hard for all of us. And so providing those little resources that we can share for those conversations that are hard to have, and to kind of be that icebreaker for both professionals, parents, and then open up that conversation to the more engaging conversation that's needing to be had.
Being a parent myself, oftentimes it's the simple things that make a difference.
As a busy parent myself, just engaging with your kids, making it an everyday thing so they know that you're there, they can always come to you when those difficult situations do arise.
Contact Trail District Health Unit in Hillsborough for more information.
Sharing our heritage, sharing our future. Choosing the right bank for your financial needs can be challenging with the many choices available. Dakota Heritage Bank is pleased you're interested in knowing more about what they can do for you. The Dakota Heritage Bank community bank setting is a strong advantage they have over larger, less personal banks. Customers are more than account numbers, they are friends and neighbors. Working together, Dakota Heritage Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Thanks for joining us with the Senior Spotlight with YourLiveEvent.com, and we're joined by Cadyn Dahl, a senior at Ada Borup out West. And Cadyn, thanks for joining us here today. And because it's the Senior Spotlight, let's start right there. How has the senior year been so far for you?
It's been really good. It's been a fun year so far. It's kind of hard to think about it being the last year, but I'm just taking everything in, and I'm not taking anything for granted with classes, sports, really everything.
As you were an underclassman and you saw other senior members, teammates, friends, everything go through and what they said, has it been kind of what you were expecting then, or has it been a big difference or change?
I think it's pretty much what I expected. I think just everything, it's not too terribly different from last year, but it's just the thought that a lot of the stuff is your last thing you're going to do. I wouldn't say it's too much different.
Well, looking here at your senior year of basketball, as we're in the playoffs right now, and as we're chatting, big game coming up here. For this senior year, how have you been going through it there, or especially with some teammates, some classmates that you guys have been playing a lot of basketball for a few years together?
Well, it's been a really fun ride, really every year, and then especially these last 2 years making deep runs, and that's also just hard to think that this is our last playoff run for us seniors, especially me, Austin, Mason. We've been playing forever too. We've played together since 6th grade, so it's hard to think this might be the last, or this will be the last time we're on the same court together. So we're just making the most of it.
Talk about what it's like to play for 6 years together, and because not a lot of groups have that opportunity. Guys drop off or go to other activities, things. Talk about what that's been like.
It's been great. Just having the same teammates the whole time. You get used to each other, and it's like when you're on the court, what each other are going to do the whole time. So just really easy to play with each other when you've played together for so long and know each other so well.
As you look back here too at the senior year and things coming up, have we looked ahead to the next couple months, or are we in the moment? What are we doing?
I mean, we're kind of in the moment, focusing on the playoff run right now, but I mean, also thinking a little ahead too with baseball coming up too. So, because I like baseball a lot too. Played that since 2nd or 3rd grade. So, but we're just kind of staying in the moment right now, focusing on the run we have going right now.
Yeah, I believe even for the team, kind of starting to throw a little bit here in some mornings. Some guys getting in, so you kind of get that sense here of springtime coming.
Yeah, I think maybe some guys are throwing baseball around a little bit, but I think pretty much the whole team is still focusing on the playoff run. They know what this means for the team and the seniors. So, yeah, I mean, some of them probably can't wait for baseball to start too, but they are focused on the run right now.
As a senior, I know you get asked this question a lot here, but you also announced it to kind of give people an idea. Your plans after high school and headed down to Morris there, and you're going to play basketball as well.
Yep, planning to play basketball at Morris, and I'm planning to go for sports management right now, and I think I'll probably stick with that plan because, I mean, sports is just a big thing in my life, and I want to continue being a part of it even after playing college basketball. So,
what is it about the aspect of being involved in sports that you like so much?
I just like the team aspect, just being a part of a team, and I mean, even when you're a part of a team, you just automatically seem like you're just part of a family, part of having new friends. And yeah, the team aspect is great with even the bus rides and everything that comes along with it.
I'm going to ask you a little bit too about deciding on Morris and being recruited to play ball too. What that experience was like for you?
It was great. I mean, I got reached out by other coaches too, but and I've visited a couple other schools, and it just felt like Morris was the right fit, and that's kind of what you got to do. Whatever fits right, and whatever coaches feel like they really want you there. It just felt like the right fit, and that's what I went with.
The right fit is important. Glad you were able to find that there. I know it's a little premature because you still got to go through graduation and everything else, but as you look back on your high school career, what are some of the things that stand out to you that you really enjoyed?
I mean, I've enjoyed like the basketball every year. It's been a big part of high school career. I've liked every moment of it. Also just getting into like being part of the high school, becoming a freshman, that was a big moment too. The experience from being a high school student athlete, it shows you how you have to put like time together with like being in sports too. You have to manage your time really well, and yeah, there's really a lot of things you can take away from it, but the main few, I guess.
Any other activities there in the school or the community here that you've been a part of as well?
Yeah, I've been a part of baseball for a long time too, and I've been a part of Minnesota Honor Society for the last couple of years. That's been fun, being a volunteer for other activities. And what else? I mean, yeah, pretty much.
All right, well, good. Hey, able to do those things, and we talked at the beginning about what you heard from other older friends and teammates there. So here's your opportunity as a senior to pass on some advice to some underclassmen. What would you share?
For younger classmen, or I would just say you just got to take in every moment that you're a part of a team, and even just in school, you just got to take in everything one at a time because it goes really fast. I mean, it's hard to even believe that it's almost the fourth quarter of my senior year right now. So, yeah, just got to take in everything. Don't take anything for granted ever. And, yeah, pretty much.
All right. Well, hey, Cadyn, congratulations on a heck of a high school career. I got to ask you, too, because I know it's there, and I feel bad asking this before a game here, but you put up a lot of points in your basketball career there, too. I believe you're top 3 right now in all time for A to Borup West. What does that mean to you?
I mean, it's a good achievement, but I mean, I couldn't have got even close to being there without my teammates, coaches, family, and it took a lot of people to help me get to that point. So, I mean, couldn't have done it without anybody, but it is a nice achievement.
I think you're close to top 10 or in the top 10 too all time in the state of Minnesota for 3-pointers made. do you kind of, wear that as a little badge going around, be like, hey, I'm top 10, in the state, because that is a big honor. There's a lot of people that play basketball, and to be top 10 all time is pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I mean, maybe that one I would have to tell that to some others, but it's really cool.
Well, hey, hopefully you get to go on, continue that. Best of luck at you tonight as we talk before the game. Hopefully you get a few more after that as well, too. Personal note, it's been fun to watch you out here over the years since little 8th grade Cadyn to senior year Cadyn there. It's nice to see the improvement in the development. So congratulations on the career here. Hopefully the rest of the senior year goes the way you want it, and look forward to chatting with you.
Thank you.
That again is the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Make sure you join us every Wednesday night starting at 7 o'clock here in the month of March as we get you ready for another edition and one step closer to some spring sports previews as well. Again, the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show presented to you by the Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation. I'm Chase Miller. Enjoy the rest of your night.